Welcome to Heart of the Matter Radio with author and host Cynthia L. Simmons. How does a godly woman live in a world out of sync? Cynthia digs into the issues women face in our complex culture to set a path through the chaos. It's for women seeking the elegance of God's wisdom. So prepare yourself to listen, learn, and rest. Now here's your host, Cynthia L. Simmons.
I remember when I had my first baby, the doctor came in after having examined her and told me that she was absolutely beautiful and to enjoy her. Well, that caught me by surprise because I guess I expected to do that. But the way he said it, I thought, I guess I really do need to enjoy my children. And that was really good advice for me because having had 5, eventually I got to the point that I was dragging because I was trying to do everything. My guest today is Jennifer Slattery, and she is going to be talking about parenting with joy, that joy that you had when you first had that child. Is it possible to keep it, or at least to maintain your emotional stability and not get like I did, really burned out? I would sit at the end of the day and just sort of stare at the walls, and that was about all I had. Welcome, Jennifer. How are you doing?
Good, Cynthia. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, I'm excited about it. We're old friends and haven't talked to you in a while, so get your opinion on these things.
I loved your opening story. It reminded me of something I read from a friend recently where she was going through this really difficult time. She was homeschooling her daughter, and her daughter was just not learning. It was just one of those years where the entire year was one struggle after another. And she had this moment where frustration really started to well up within her. But then she pulled back and she remembered something similar to what you said, that she had made a commitment to prioritize relationship. And so she switched her thinking in that moment and she was like, it's going to be okay because I'm building relationship. Mm-hmm. And so it's kind of the same thing. I'm going to enjoy my child. And she realized that issue that they had was not worth stealing her joy, stealing her peace, and harming her relationship, and her getting frustrated and upset wasn't going to fix the problem. And so just that mind shift, I think, can be so powerful.
It can. Sometimes it is a mind shift that makes a huge difference in your emotions.
I think too, today's expectations are, everybody is so busy and families are so busy, and often their kids are put in all these activities, and so the parents are running from one event to the next. And I feel like the expectations from school continually raise, the homework requirements raise. And if you're in sports, when I was a kid, it was like you would have one meet a week, and now it seems like they just have these ongoing meets. And I think we have to remind ourselves it's okay to say no. And it's okay to stop. It's okay to hit pause. And it's okay to stare at the wall if we need to for a bit.
Yes, it is. But I think there's this expectation that by the time your kid gets into a certain place in school, they've got some sort of activity outside of school, whether it's piano or track or field or swimming or something. And when time you do all that with several children, you have done a lot of running.
Absolutely. And I know when our daughter was growing up, we had a rule where she could only do one activity at a time. And we also would look at those activities at how many evenings a week they required. And there were certain requirements that for our family, we were going to have family dinner so many nights a week. We're going to have quiet family evenings so many nights a week. And I'll tell you, that didn't always make me the popular mom with her or with neighbors. Like there were times when neighbors would come knocking and wanting to play, and I would say, no, this is family time. And I serve in children's ministry, and I've been watching this trend for a while of kids just being overly scheduled. And I think it comes from parents feeling like if they don't do these things with their kids, if they don't allow their kids to do that extra activity, their kid is going to be missing out in some way.
Yes.
But they're robbing their kids potentially of what their kids need most, because when they're in high school and it feels like their world is falling apart and they're trying to navigate all of these uncertainties, our relationship rests on what we built prior. And if we've invested that time, they're going to be more apt to come to us. And really, it's the safety, the felt safety. When I say felt safety, I mean the how the children feel in the home, feeling safe with you, feeling safe in the home, that this is their home base, that's what adds to their resiliency and helps them to make wise choices and to manage stress. And if we can look at it that way, every moment we spend with them, even if we frustrate them in the moment by having to say no, we're building long-term into that relational joy and parental joy. We're letting them know, hey, I value you and your future and our relationship enough. I value our family enough that it's worth making you upset. It's worth making your coach upset. And there were times when my daughter, she was in drama and she went to a public high school and she was in drama. And there were times when I felt like they were asking too much. And I would tell her, you're going to be in bed by 10. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you didn't get your homework done. And I know that sounds like a terrible parent, but I feel like if we keep, I think there's a balance there, right? Like I wanted her to use her time wisely. I wanted her to make wise choices, but I also knew for her mental health and for her physical health, there came a time when I just had to say no more.
That's good that you created some boundaries there, and kids need boundaries. We all need boundaries, but we're somewhat hesitant sometimes to set them.
Right. And I think as parents too, if we want joy, it's not something we create in ourselves, right? That we might be able to create happiness. We might be able to create a momentary euphoric feeling, giggly feeling, but true joy comes from Jesus Christ. And the night before he died, he said to his disciples that he said, I tell you these things that you might have joy and that your joy may be complete. Well, when he was talking about, I tell you these things, he was pointing back to John chapter 15, where he tells this whole scenario, basically where he says, you need to remain as connected to me as a branch does to a vine. And so this isn't talking about you need to go to church on Sunday morning and then rush about your day. He's saying you need to be vitally, moment by moment, connected with me. And so if we're on this treadmill of rushing our kids everywhere, we are robbing ourselves of those precious moments, and we're robbing our kids of those precious moments for their soul to really be filled. And I get that we have to, there are periods where we have to rush, but then we have to be strategic, I think. And so if we find ourselves in the car, in the carpool line for a majority of the time, then maybe we plan ahead and we download some podcasts that can keep us focused on Jesus. And maybe we plan ahead and we say, okay, as we're driving this afternoon, everywhere we drive, we're going to listen to praise music and we're going to pray as a family. So we have to live life, but we can live in such a way that we're prioritizing our time with Jesus Christ, and we're prioritizing our family, and we're releasing all those expectations that we tag on, because so often it's not the particular event that creates the most stress. It's all the expectations we put on top of it. Like, I've got to make cookies for PTA meeting, and then they're burnt. Okay, so they're burnt, but we can allow that to create such anxiety within us that it steals our joy. Or maybe we're late. We're like, okay, so we're late getting to an event, but us stressing about it isn't going to get us there any quicker. So it's just making the continual mind shift of focusing long-term. What am I teaching my kids long-term? What am I modeling? Prioritizing relationship in the moment, no matter what happens. And just saying, kind of like my friend did, nothing is worth creating relational damage.
Well, in Atlanta, you can get stressed sitting in traffic for hours. You want to get someplace and traffic is stopped and you're going 3 miles an hour. I have sat in the car and thought, I could go faster in a horse and buggy if there were no cars here. So this car is doing no good. Yeah, if you could take those moments and do something with them, absolutely, yes. And hopefully you won't have many of those moments.
Well, and I think kind of like what your doctor said to you, if we can make the decision ahead. So my daughter got married this past May. So it's coming on a year. And there was some grief in that because she had a COVID wedding and we had so much planned. We'd picked the venue, we'd picked the decoration.